farms, and what they do is they run them all over the globe, and they have to be very specific in terms of how they operate. You've got to maximize. If you're going to sort of sell energy back to energy companies and you're going to manage this, it's a big, complicated process. So in their room, they've got the big screens. We're talking NASA level. I'm pretty happy I got to use the PPI board today ahead of anybody else. So here's their application. This is a WPF app. Scaled up, it looks great here, there's no issues. Here I see there's some type of alert in Amarillo. And what I'm looking at now is I'm looking at a solar field, right? And you see the cloud cover going over the solar field here in Amarillo.
Nice weather, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is the weather pose, and over here today we have some cloud cover over the solar panels. I'm going to drill in. I'll notice I got a hot spot here, so I'm going to click in and get a little richer. You see, this is a very rich, interactive app, takes advantage of touch. It's all .NET, looks beautiful. I can go to individual panels. I get a ton of information here, John. Now, the first thing is, one of the pieces of work we're doing with Windows 8 and 8.1 now is adding support for .NET. Doesn't necessarily mean anything relative to the capabilities for the new applications or the store apps, but it's important. So you'll see in updates relative to Windows 8.1 specifically to help out on the .NET side as part of that .NET 4.5.1 release. But the second thing, John, is I've got this. I still want to take advantage of devices and services and connect into the other side of what's going on out there. How do I do that?
So Acciona, this is actually the real app that Acciona uses to control energy around the world. And of course, they also have mobile workers. And those mobile workers need to be able to take this same set of rich capabilities, and they need to be able to go diagnose a solar panel or whatever it happens to be. Here's actually the version of that app that they've deployed out to the Windows devices. And they're taking advantage of the ability to do distribution, the ability to keep it up to date, take advantage of new hardware like RT. And as you can see, it's a very rich app. They can drill in, they can see things that are going on all across the environment. They can go and look at the solar panels. They can see one that's broken, just like we were seeing before. Now, what I want to do is I want to step behind the scenes a little bit and take a look at an early version of the code that Acciona had written. And this is an app being built by hundreds of developers. It's a very complex app. And I don't know about any of you, but when you're putting together an app with these things and you're using technologies like XAML, it can get a little tricky. Let me show you a quick example of what I mean. Here's a text block that you can see up here, and this is actually supposed to be data bound to something, and I actually don't know the details of the data model here, and so that's where things can get a little hairy. So I'm going to type in here, I'm going to say the text is supposed to be equal to, and I'd like to use data binding, and so for the first time, let me just show you something pretty cool we've got going on here. Notice, I've got IntelliSense completion on data binding. Now again, big project, getting this stuff right. Boy, I have spent a lot of time personally trying to get these things and debug them. Now, if I go down here, notice I just pick installation name out of this thing. That's great. All set to go. Notice it automatically did the binding up there. I know things are working. The other thing is, we've done a bunch of work in the editors for XAML so that things work right. Let me show you just one quick example. Here's a pretty easy mistake to go make. Imagine that you're working in the code and you decide that you want to go terminate one of these tags. Notice I just closed the tag. The IntelliSense took care of removing the extra floating tag. In case you didn't see that, I'll do it one more time up here. Look at that. Nice way to keep the XAML clean. So again, for .NET developers, we're doing quite a bit of work across the tools, across